Welcome to Back to Homeschool Planning Part 2, where we narrow down those curriculum choices.
You sound like you're smiling too much.
I'm smiling while I talk because it sounds nicer. Well, how about this? Where we narrow down those curriculum choices. Nobody's going to want to watch that. Welcome back to Regular Secular Mama. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Cassie and I'm a homeschool mom to 2 kiddos, currently ages 9 and 12 years old. If you took notes in part 1 and did your homework, pull out those notes now and we'll use them to go through all the different curriculum that we may be using this year. Now that you've given some thought to how the last school year went, we can start to plan and see how the next school year is going to look. Before we get into it, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you find it helpful. I appreciate it so much if you subscribe and hit the bell for notifications because that way you don't miss out on new videos that I'm posting. Hopefully you had a chance to gather some thoughts and opinions from your kids on what they want to learn about. Now would be a really good time to pause this video and do some research if you didn't do it already on how you can work those things into the next school year. Traveling to Mars might be out of the question, but that new art class might be a real possibility. I think it's a good idea to start out by reviewing those state requirements for homeschooling. This is going to depend on the state you live in and will look different for everybody. Here's a website that I've used before to look up the state requirements for where I live now, which is Florida. Texas was very lenient and had basically no requirements at all and nobody to answer to. Florida does have a few things that I need to keep in mind though, so I'll actually have to pay attention to what the state requirements are. Luckily, it's still pretty easy. They don't ask much and actually don't require specific subjects, which is interesting. Definitely look into your own state's homeschool laws if you haven't or if it's been a while. I'll share a link below on a place that could maybe get you started. Now I'm going to sit down and just kind of brainstorm a list of the subjects that I'd like to cover or that your state might require you to cover. My kids are older, in the middle grades, so I do a separate list for each kid and then another list for anything that we might do together. I always start with the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic. These are what I call skill subjects, and these 3 especially are non-negotiable for me. Language arts is one that really covers a whole breadth of subjects, so it really covers more than just reading and writing or composition. So I'll list out those subjects individually if it's something that I think that child is going to need to cover next year. For example, my 12-year-old does not do spelling at the moment, but my 9-year-old does. Both of them have covered grammar in depth with Michael Clay Thompson about a year ago, so we probably won't do a whole lot of grammar, but I'll note here anything that we might use. Next, I'll add to that list any content subjects that we plan to cover over the course of the year. Usually this is history and science, but after the kids finish the science they're working on, we don't actually have a plan for a specific science curriculum. If any interests come up, of course, I'm going to list them here with some options for what we might use. Lastly, I'll include any extras. As much as I love art, poetry, music study, things like that, those things rarely actually make it into our week, as much as I try to make them happen. I have kind of just accepted this and I don't bother planning it anymore because it makes me feel bad. If there's something like this that I plan to use, then this is where I'll include it. Over here, I'll include some things that go into what I like to call our loop jars. These are typically things that we'd like to cover, but we don't need to touch on every single school day or even every week. I'll be sharing more on that in a future video. Now that I kind of have an idea of what resources I might use, I'll go ahead and make any notes, things that I think I might need for that resource or for that subject. For example, I might need new notebooks to go with our history lessons, or I might need a binder to organize our writing work. Alright, now that I have a list of everything that I think I might use for the next school year, I'll make basically a really long checklist or to-do list of tasks or things that I'm going to need to buy or do before we start our school year. Maybe I still need to purchase a student book to go with the next math level, or maybe I need to print and have bound a teacher guide to go with a curriculum that we're going to try. This gives me one place to keep track of those things that I need to do or to find as I start gathering things over the summer and hopefully find some things on sale or used. Next up in part 3, we'll be getting a big picture view of how your whole school year might look. So don't forget to turn on that bell, that way you get notified as soon as that video goes live. Thank you so much for watching, I appreciate you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye!